I am joined now by creator Suzanne Ray. Susie, thank you for being here. You do so many things that I just had to call you a creator because we can't narrow it down. You are a comic book creator, a muralist, a creative writer. How did you begin as an artist?
I was born an artist. I think most of us can say that as creators. It's an urge from when we're really young. And I was raised by a mother who's an architect, and she taught me everything she knew about art. And so I always had this creative spirit that was really fostered growing up. And as I got older, I really dove into books and loved escaping into those worlds, and found that I could also express my creativity in that way through storytelling and emotion. And so throughout my whole life, I've kind of had these two loves and found a way to join them even with graphic novels and comics, both through storytelling and visual aspects. So it's been a wonderful journey for me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk so much more about that, but I want to get into the logistics a little bit more. So when you went to college, you studied creative writing.
I did, yes.
What was the impetus for that? What made you of all the creative outlets, what made you decide that was going to be where you focused?
I think I saw more paid opportunities as a writer, more ways that I could translate to the real world, whatever that means. And I was really sold on a program that was designed for professional writing. So I had this idea that, if I learned the business, I could really make my way as a writer and as a maker and use my gift for words. So I actually have 2 degrees in creative writing, not just one, because I really love storytelling.
Yeah.
And I love the emotion that's in it. I love the range of the human experience and, how we can share experiences and share knowledge through words.
I read that you didn't really get back into painting until 2020. Now, prior to that, were you focused mostly on the comic side, or how did that work?
Right. I didn't even discover comics as a medium that worked for me until later in college. For the first part of college, I was focused completely as a writer. And, when I was doing these art classes on the side, I was finding I was overwhelmed by what I was learning and how I wanted to execute it. And so I put color and painting aside and decided that I really wanted to focus on line work, on black and white and contrast. And when I found graphic novels as not just superheroes, but literary storytelling, that's when it clicked for me. And I said, oh, this black and white that I've already been working in translates perfect to the comic book medium.
And it feels like such a great marriage that you can be a storyteller in both ways. And so then tell me what happened in 2020 that got you back into painting.
Right. So in 2020, I was graduating with my MFA in creative writing. And this was in the middle of the pandemic still, and I just didn't know how I felt about the job hunt yet.
Yeah.
And there was this opportunity put out by Art This Way and Make It Your Own Mural Festival to be a mentee for a mural artist and kind of learn the ins and outs and help them paint a mural in 10 days. And I said, why not?
Was that terrifying? Because you've been just doing line work, working on your line drawings, haven't even been painting, dealing with color. Now you're going to go large scale. I mean, that's huge.
Right.
Literally and figuratively.
When I applied, I didn't think it through.
Yeah.
And then I started freaking out. I was like, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
But I was still really excited about the opportunity.
Tell me what it was like to be a mentee and what you learned from that experience.
So, as a mentee, it was a volunteer position. So my lead artist was like, show up when you want, when you have time. I'll show you what I know. And mostly it was just following his design and his art process. But he let me do my own little part and section, just to say hey, you can add this to your own portfolio. I have created something this big. And my mentor, Sean, was really great. He's based out of Rochester, New York. He's done several murals here in the Fort Wayne area. and actually across the country. But he was just, wonderful in terms of showing me how things work, kind of showing me that there aren't too many mysteries with painting a mural. It's not some magic. It's kind of just taking the logic of painting small and blowing it up big.
It seems like magic to me. So break that down for me. How do you take something small and translate it into a huge piece?
Right. So there's a lot of different methods. Some people freehand it. They're really good with just stepping back and seeing where they're going. They have that confidence. Other people use a projector. You can use something called like a grid or a doodle method, where you would have a doodle on the wall that you would kind of paint out really quickly and then kind of overlay your own art onto it and have that print out as a guide to show you where you're going to put your lines. So there's some methods that, people in like the regular art community use. They use like a regular 1x1 grid that they would lay over a photo, and then, find where that line is on their quote map. So these tools were already kind of like in my toolbox.
Yeah.
It was really cool to find out.
So have you experimented with different methods, or did you find one right away that worked and you stick with that?
I think my favorite is the projector method. It doesn't work every time.
Yeah.
But it is the fastest.
There you go.
Because then you just have your design already made up. You follow your lines really quickly, and then it's running ahead straight from there.
So speaking of design, I want to talk a little bit more about that, because you are such a storyteller that I know a lot goes into your designs. So when you are going to create a mural, where do you even begin?
I begin with the heart of the people who are asking for it. So back in September, I did a design for Hamilton Park in the North Highlands neighborhood, and they wanted something that captured the aspect of the park itself. They had baseball, they have these beautiful trees, they want to like invite families there and like have a good time. So I was thinking about how can I capture those elements in a way that isn't just like, oh, I look at the wall and then I look over and I see those exact things.
Right.
But it's finding like, what do they want? And how do I also express that? How do I tell that story of Hamilton Park as a place where you can go and see beauty and have fun?
So what did you land on?
So
Because I'm like, yes, I that tracks, I get that. And then I'm like, but what would I do? I don't know what I would do. So what did you do?
So I ended up doing a family with a picnic basket and a large set of flowers in the middle, kind of capturing that natural beauty. And then fireflies off to the side, showing like the dusky aspect, how the fields kind of like, go quiet, and you can just look out and see those twinkling lights in the evening.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I also love, again, that there's such a story there. So I think I read that in your spare time, you are working on some graphic novels. Is that
Correct, yeah.
How does that creative outlet feed you?
It's a different kind of mode. With a mural, it's a single image, it's static, and you find one thing and you fixate on it. And with something like a graphic narrative, it's an arc, and it builds and it rises and it falls, and you get character development, and you have you get to see a range of human emotions coming across, and there's conflict, and it's just like kind of an exciting and more dynamic approach to creativity.
So do you see yourself putting murals on the back burner and moving your graphic artistry and graphic novels up to the forefront, or are you happy with the balance right now? It must be tricky to know what you're going to give your full attention to.
It's tricky, yeah. Something about the mural business is that you make contacts early on, and it might be a year or two later that they actually say, yes, I want this. And so it's hard to know like when I can ramp up and when I should ramp down.
Yeah.
But I foresee for right now, I want to be ramping down murals and ramping up my graphic novels and that aspect of things, because I've spent a lot of time painting, and I don't want to neglect my other skills.
Sure.
I need to pick up my brush and ink again
Yeah.
and get warmed up. And yeah.
I know that the messaging in your work is so important to you. So when people read your work or see your work, what do you hope they take away from it?
I hope that they take away a deeper empathy for other people. When I write, I want to tell stories about like the brokenness that I see in the world, and hopefully offer a way that we can work towards fixing it. You know, maybe that's not realistic, but you know, I at least want to reflect the problems that I see and try to create a positive move for like the future.
What has art taught you about yourself?
I think it's taught me sometimes I carry things too deeply. You know, I'm an emotional person.
Yeah.
I know that's shocking after what you've just heard. And sometimes those stories come out of like my own hurt, and the hurt of like my family, for instance. So it teaches me to moderate it, to express it, and it can be a gauge for me in a temperature, like a thermometer of when things are really bad or when things are going well. And so it's beautiful as like a tool of self-reflection for me.
That is so amazing because it can go one of two ways. You know, they say hurt people hurt people. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes hurt people or deeply feeling people create really amazing art that other people can see themselves in. So thank you for being brave enough to take all of those feelings and give them to the world in such a profound way. Susie, you are delightful. Your work is amazing, and I really appreciate you sitting down with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by